Hey everyone, how's it going today? We are live. Let me see how I want to. Take a look at just trying to make it look as natural as possible, which is kind of hard to do. Okay, we'll call that good for now. Hi. Okay. Today we are adding switch detail and joint bars to this little spur right here I've got coming off of the main line. And then once I do that, I'm going to be about ready to start ballasting. I kind of want to get ballasting going sooner rather than later in this section. So I got maybe one or maybe two or so more sessions of me sitting here gluing joint bars down. Before I'm ready to start ballasting. Let me get my cheaters. Let me turn on more light in the room too. Hey Chris, how's it going? Good morning to you. Man, this blade is really dull. Hold on. I think this has a sharper blade. I have just recently started taking blade sharpness seriously. And here's the stupid reason is because like I didn't like going and spending $3-4 for 4 or 5 blades at Walmart every time I would start something new. That's not a stupid reason. The stupid reason was I didn't even think to like go on Amazon and just buy blades. So you can spend $3 or $4 at Walmart for like 5 blades, or you can go on Amazon and spend $7 for 100 blades, which is, of course, way more reasonable. Good sharp blades do certainly make a difference, Chris. Yeah, I put up with dull blades for such a long time for no good reason. And that's just a big mistake. I'm trying to get some of these burrs off. I had taken a little break from model railroading. I do apologize for kind of just being gone for a little bit. Can I show you what I was doing? Let me see if this will swing around okay. This right here is one of my RC airplanes. It's an FPV wing is what they call them. You see on the front here, there's a little camera, and I got antennas for the camera and everything. And the idea is that you fly the plane wearing a pair of goggles that have a little television camera in there, or television, little TVs in your goggles, and the camera on your plane is what you see through. So it looks like you're actually flying a plane. This has been a long time hobby of mine for about a decade now. So in summer months, these kind of things tend to take over my life. And then in the winter months, it's generally when this takes over my life. Yeah, I was fascinated with RC airplanes for a long time too, and I never got into them until I started seeing people flying FPV, first person view, with the cameras. And I thought that that was so cool. And I really wanted to get into it at that point. What's funny is, like, I went online, I started learning about it, and I started dipping my toe in the water a little bit, but then I was like, all right, I'm going to do this for real. So I bought a kit. It's actually one of the planes that was up on the wall that you saw just then. This was like almost 10 years ago. And I was having some, with FPV planes, a lot of them, it's mostly you buy a little kit and you add your own electronics. And if you've never messed around with RC airplanes, it's a whole world you got to learn from an electronic standpoint. So I didn't know, I didn't know. I didn't know what I'm supposed to be doing. So I found a guy online who had the same plane I did in a forum. He had the same plane I did, which is kind of unique. I mean, there's not a lot of guys flying RC FPV wings to begin with. And, so there's a low number of them, and then there's a good number of planes. And so everyone's kind of got their favorite planes. And so they sort of specialize in whichever planes they like. So I found a guy who had the same plane that I did. And I asked him a couple questions about it. And it turns out that he lived in practically the same town as me. Just randomly online, just contacted some random dude online. And that dude turned out to be like in the same town. It was crazy. I think I put the wrong one on there, didn't I? I did. I should have put the other one on there. Let's see if I can take this off. These micro engineering details for the switches. There's like a good one and a bad one. The way that the molding ended up working out on these things. So the bad one goes on the back side. The good one goes on the front side. At least that's how that's supposed to work. Well, at least that's how I do it. Anyway, so by chance, I just happened to make friends with a guy that lived right next to me, and had the exact same interests as I did, which is really pretty rare, and even rarer nowadays. So that was fun, and we've been flying together since. And having somebody like that in the hobby who has been doing it way longer than me, really knows what he's talking about. Has been, I mean, just I would never have been as successful in FPV flying wings stuff if it wasn't for having someone like that who I could sort of lean on for support. And yeah, anyway, same thing goes for model railroading, I guess, right? Chris, your winters are tied up with holiday lighting for Halloween and music, Christmas, because you do animated lights. Yeah, my next door, my new neighbors. I had some new neighbors moved in across the cul-de-sac from me. He does the same. He has a holiday Christmas lighting that he puts up on his house, and I don't know what it is yet, but it looks like it's one of those situations where you've got like the you know, like the set to music and the massive amount of lights are all you know, what do you call it, in tune with each other or whatever, set to music. He's been working on it for the last couple of weeks. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. One of the first things he said to me was, "Sorry, I do this every year, so it's going to be crazy," or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, good. I don't have to try for Christmas decorations anymore, because it doesn't matter what I'm going to do. It's going to be terrible compared to whatever you're doing." Yeah, can always learn something from somebody else. I've got a video I've got to put together still. By the way, I'm cutting. I don't know if you can see it all. Let me show you what I'm doing here. It's not going to focus on this at all, is it? There's these very, very tiny little details. That I have to glue onto these guide rails here. So I'm cutting those out, trimming them to size, and then we'll be gluing them in place here in a second. What was I saying? Oh, I need my glasses back. Where'd my cheaters go? There they are. By the way, if I'm not sounding okay, let me know. See if I can tilt this thing a little bit better for you. So I'm working on a video that I did for this little lighted crossover that I added in down at the end there. This new crossover that I put in a few videos back. And I needed help because it involved electronics and involved wiring up something that honestly I hadn't really ever seen before in model railroading. I'm sure somebody's done it. I just couldn't really find my exact situation. And so I was putting it off, and I ended up reaching out to 3 or 4 guys that are pretty well known, honestly, because they had similar type situations with their layouts. So I sheepishly was like, "Hey, I don't know if you can help or not, but here's my situation. I'm looking to do something like this. Can you at least point me in the right direction?" They were all very, very helpful. I was pleasantly not surprised, but it was good to know that these guys were good people willing to help, because I'm sure they probably get questions quite often, just being the size. Size being being as well known as they are, I guess. I'm sure they probably get people asking them dumb questions a lot. And I don't want to be one of those dumb guys, but it's kind of hard not to be a dumb guy occasionally when it comes to this hobby. We're all dumb about something, right? Okay. These little detail parts, I wish I could get you closer so you could see what's going on. They go on, let me pull this camera over here. I'm gonna switch sides. This might be easier for you guys to see things. Okay. Okay. Sorry to move you around a little bit. I just got done gluing a little bit detail right along here. Some like bolts that kind of help hold the frog together. Some bolt detail there. So that is, sorry about the shaking, done. Now I've got these guide rails. Forgive me, I don't know the names of switch details. But those have these kind of large U-shape clamps, I guess. I don't know. They kind of hold them in place. So I have these little details that do that. And so I used liquid super glue for here because the liquid, it's thin. I'm pressing something up against metal. So there's a lot to kind of hold it in place up there. So liquid super glue works good there. For these guys here, they kind of have to kind of stand up on their own. There's not a whole lot of surface area that's going to be gluing them in place. And so I need a glue with a little more structure. So I'm using super glue gel for that. Oop. This, I just broke the tip off this. So that is, the glue is done after this little job. So this is a little tricky just because of how tiny all these little pieces are. But that gel has more structure to it. And so it'll hold itself up while it's kind of drying itself in place. Okay, there's one. Turn the angle so you can see okay. I take some of that gel glue, just dab it on the end there, and stick it where it needs to go. This is where it gets tricky because it's just such a fine detail. And once I ballast, the ballast will hold it in place, permanently. So it's not going to like come loose at that point. Now it's sticking to the tweezers. And there's some cat hair stuck to it. This is so annoying. I hate this so much. There we go. Okay. Do it again. Don't use your good tweezers for this, by the way. Could probably use some better tweezers in this for this step anyway. I don't, personally, I don't think that these were well designed, these little detail bits. Did I just lose it under the rail there? I think I did just lose it under the rail. Where the hell did it go? Yep, I just lost it on the rail. Can you believe it? I bet it's glued itself down under there and it's not coming out ever again. Crazy. All right, you know what? These details are so small. What I'm going to do one of these guide rails are not going to have the detail attached to it, but it's going to be on the back side. Nobody's going to see it ever. See, that one went on just fine. See, the annoying thing is it sticks to the once that super glue starts to set up, it starts sticking, and then it doesn't want to let go of the tool. There has got to be a better way. Oh, there we go. Close enough. See if I can scrape some of the super glue off. Okay. Next one. When it goes on right, it's fine. It's quick and easy, painless. Look at that. 2 of them in a row. Boom, boom. All right. Did I lose a piece? I think I might have lost a piece. And I lost one under the rail. Did I lose one over here too? Did I stick it to my arm? Yep, I lost a piece. I wasn't careful enough. Oh, that's right. I got them on the inside here. The outside there, you're not seeing it, but honestly, when you're operating, it is not in a position where you can see it anyway. So, in the interest of keeping moving on, we are going to keep on moving on. I might come back with some additional ones here later and glue some more on there before I go to actually ballasting. But one thing I'll do is add a little bit of kicker. This is just a little something to encourage that glue to set. All right, so now we're going to move on to joint bars. Okay, I said this in the last video, but I'll share again my strategy for joint bars. Oops, sorry. Joint bars can be expensive on a good sized model railroad, just because you need way more than you would think you would need. So I have two kinds. Let me grab the other kind out of this drawer over here. I have Kaiser Valley joint bars, which are photo etched. So here's like a pack of like, I don't know, 100 of them maybe. These are for code 70 or code 83 rail. So you just kind of clip them out, glue them on the track. The other thing I have are these here, which these are Detail West joint bars. These are significantly more expensive for the number you get. I can't remember how much these were, but to buy the same amount in Details West joint bars would be a massive difference in price. Difference in quality. The Details West joint bars are a little thicker. They are probably out of scale being thicker, but once you weather the track, paint it, weather it, these actually show up very well, whereas these do not. They are, well, they're visible, you can see them. You can add a little bit of paint highlight to them to kind of make them stand out a little bit more, but they're not as noticeable as these. So I do prefer these in most situations. What you'll see here is these say they're good for code 83 and code 70, and that is incorrect. I have code 70 track on basically all of my sightings in my yard, and the profile of these stick up above, at least on microengineering track, they stick up above the top of the railhead. So you kind of have to file them down flush with the railhead. So in my opinion, these don't really work for code 70, at least for microengineering. I imagine for most everything else as well. But these work perfectly great with them. So I'm using code 83 for mainline track and Details West for mainline track, which is all code 83, and Kaiser Valley for all the sightings. That's how I'm working that out. So I'm getting the best of both worlds essentially. My mainline, I'm using the more expensive Details West joint bars, but I have much less mainline to have to worry about than I do sightings, right? That's, as I think most of us in model railroading do. So for the sidings, because they're all code 70 anyway, using these cheaper joint bars is helpful. I have a little guide I made for myself here. It's 39 scale feet. I can use that to ensure that that my joint bars are going in at the right spots. And I kind of offset the joint bars like they do in the real world. Make a little mark for them. I'm also putting the joint bars only on the portions of the track that you actually see when you're viewing the model railroad. So a joint bar will go on the front and the back to kind of like lock the rail in place. However, that I don't do that. I only worry about what can be seen. One, it's far less time for sure. And then two, it just makes sense. Why model something that you're not going to see? Joint bars will also, sorry, let me move this camera out and back so we can kind of see the whole scene. Hey, Justin to Trains, how's it going? Happy Saturday to you. Another thing joint bars can do is interfere with your cars. They can, the flanges, is that the right word? They can bump into your joint bars and cause your cars to wobble. So the Kaiser Valley joint bars, being very low profile, don't have that problem. So that's another good reason to use Kaiser Valley. And I mentioned that I use Details West joint bars on the main line. That's true. I do use them on the main line, but only on the outside of the rail. On the inside of the rail on the main line, I use the Kaiser Valley. So that my cars do not get affected by the Details West joint bars. And I learned this all from my last layout. I did a, come on. Can't get my pliers in there to free this. Yeah, my last layout, I did joint bars. They were all Details West, and every piece of track had them inside and outside, whether I could see it or not. And it was just, it was a lot. So I no longer do that. Come on, why are you being so difficult? Just cutting out a few of these for now. These are coming out way easier. I don't know why these are coming out so much easier. Bent them a little bit, but they'll straighten out. Yes, joint bars are super cool. I agree. That's why I like putting them on there. I think it's one of those things where if you have the ability to do it, I think it's just cool. It's one of those details that not everyone will notice, but for those who do notice it, I think they appreciate it. Okay. So I'll just take a little bit, wipe it on there. I'm using the liquid stuff here. Very important to use the liquid super glue on these little joint bars. I'm actually going to put on both sides of this one. I'm going to have a passenger station in this general area, so I don't know where I'm going to be taking pictures from. So if I can if I think I might be taking pictures from a location where I'm going to see a joint bar, I'm going to go ahead and put a joint bar there. It's like on either side of this rail will be joint bars. Once you kind of get the hang of it, they don't take very long to put on. It's just that for a layout this size, I'm going to need hundreds and hundreds of joint bars. I'm gluing these little guys on hundreds and hundreds of times. It really starts to add up after a while. That one didn't go on super straight. Here we go, that's Illustrator. Ugh. One of these jump bars bent coming off the sprue. Let's see if I can straighten them out at all. So now I'm in a spot where I'm just putting joint bars on the visible side of the track. I'm curious what your thoughts are on something when it comes to model railroading that I've noticed. We model railroaders are psychopaths when it comes to detail on locomotives and cars. We want to make sure that we get the right detail, it's at the right scale, it looks proportional, and all the detail as well, right? Come on the back side of this one. And so we have these hyper detailed locomotives and rail cars, and we spend too much money on them and we obsess over them. And then it comes to like buildings and track work and track side details and stuff. And we're just kind of like not super concerned with it. I always found that interesting. What is it? I mean, if you take a look at like the building kits that are available out there, there's some good building kits. Don't get me wrong, but unless you start getting to like craftsman structure kits, those like wood kits that you would put on a, they're mostly out of era for modern stuff. They're wood craftsman structure kits that come with like a lot of detail as part of the kit. Unless you're getting into that world, you're not. Most of this stuff is like really simple. Like, here's this little building I'm working on, and the kit was super simple and doesn't come with a ton of detail. Like, I'm looking for ways to add detail now with like electrical boxes and I'm gonna add wiring, outside wiring, kind of running around the building, and lighting, and the little details that most of these kind of simple prefab looking buildings in real life have with them, but they don't include them in the model kits. And people don't seem to care so much. I don't hear very much about how building detail kits, building kits don't have much detail to them. We don't as modelers seem to really care so much about that. I kind of feel like where's my glasses? There's an opportunity out there for a building manufacturer to really come in and offer highly detailed building model kits that include all those extra details. Because I feel like if I want that detail, I'm either going to have a 3D printer and print it out myself, because there are people that make that kind of stuff. They're just, they don't, I don't know. Or you're spending like a lot of money buying little kit boxes and then having them shipped to you. Like, I feel like before it's over with here, I'm going to have a 3D printer just so I can get the detail kits. The little detail parts I need to make my buildings actually look like, what I want them to. I think there's probably an opportunity for a manufacturer to kind of step in and give us an alternative. There's not a lot of building kit manufacturers to begin with, right? There's like Wathers, and then like a couple of other people occasionally step in there and say, oh, I can do buildings too. Just into train says building details he picked up recently were from Walters gas meters, electrical boxes, etc. Some cool parts. I got that same kit. That is awesome. Security cameras, that kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, those little extra stuff are available. They are out there. But they just don't come with the building kits that you purchase like out of the box. You got to like spend extra money to go get them. going to go ahead and mark out all the way down to the end of this track. Okay, I'm not going to bother putting one there because that's where I've got a little joint bar in the actual track. Not worrying about being ultra accurate in ultra precise in spacing of these. They're within a couple of scale inches of each other. That's all I need. Okay. Yeah, a lot of nickel and diming, Justin says, which yes. There's a lot of nickel and diming on those little detail parts. And I don't blame anyone who's making detail parts for nickel and diming us. They're not the ones doing it. I think kit manufacturers just could spend a little more time and energy to provide more details with these building kits. And I get that, a lot of these building kits come from an era in model railroading where nothing was super detailed. So like this building kit model, I'm sure is probably 20 years old, maybe more than that. So let me get another micro brush. So they're perfectly acceptable for that time period. But I think that people are starting to get a little more I think with the increase in quality on locomotives and rail cars and that kind of thing, I think people are getting a little more discerning. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm talking about. Where am I? There they are. People just want a little more accuracy, a little more realism. And you can do that. You can model it. You can add it yourself and do whatever you need. And that sort of creativity that comes with doing it yourself is important, for sure, and part of the hobby, for sure. It would just be nice if the manufacturers helped us out a little bit. Once the super glue dries, this stuff gets nice and hard and solid, and then you paint over top of it, and you ballast over top of it, and it just becomes one with the track. I can't wait to get this section of the row kind of ballasted and start adding detail to it, because this is a recycling facility. And the idea is that these box cars and gondolas and stuff kind of pull up to here and load and unload scrap metal. So I'm going to have all kinds of junk just overwhelming this area. Not so terrible that it's like, it looks like a garbage hole or anything, but I think track is sometimes around these sort of industrial areas are sometimes a lot more junky looking than we tend to make them in model railroading. I'm going to, at the end of this, count up how many joint bars I used on this 3-foot section of track here, so you can kind of get an idea of just how many you might need, because it is more than you'd think. That glue's starting to set up. All right, how many more do I need here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need 7 more. So there's one right there. So we cut out 6 more of these. A little more glue. I purchased some very nice liquid super glue. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. Right now I'm using just the Loctite super glue you buy from like Walmart. Seems to be doing just fine for this. I would be curious to try the expensive stuff that I purchased to see what, if any, real difference it makes. One thing I am doing with these inside bars is just making sure that they are pressed in there flush as much as I can so that they don't so that we don't have that problem of them brushing against the wheels of the cars and causing the cars to kind of bounce around a little bit. One thing I do with these little detail parts like this that I know that I need a lot of, and I know that is going to cost me an unhealthy amount of money to to purchase, is I don't purchase it all at once. I just kind of get them occasionally as I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I know I'm going to need some joint bars. Let me go to get some joint bars. I've collected all the joint bars I need now to complete the model railroad, especially with those Detail West joint bars. I purchased them kind of a little bit at a time, but I did it over the course of about a decade. Honestly, seriously, it's been about a decade of me collecting joint bars for this particular model railroad here. And so I only purchase them occasionally when I'm like, I got some extra cash in the pocket. Let's see, while I'm on this website, let's grab some joint bars while I'm here. That just helps kind of spread the cost out a little bit and prevent me from having to drop a ton of money all at once on a stupid little detail like this. Because you'll see, I'm going to add up. Okay, everything's in place now. Let's make sure that one more. And then we'll check to make sure that I've gotten every single joint bar that I need added. Because it's easy to accidentally miss one. Cool, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, I put 25 joint bars in a 3-foot section of track. Okay. Let's do a little bit of math on this. So the Kaiser Valley joint bars, I think are, I want to say $12 for 100 of them. So you're looking at about $3 worth of joint bars that went into that 3-foot section and track. That's not bad. Kaiser Valley, good value. Details West, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get 12 of them for I think $3.50, right around there. So you're looking at about $7-ish to do 3 feet of track. So it's twice as expensive, a little more than twice as expensive when it starts adding up. So, and that's if you're only doing basically one side of the track. If you have to do both sides of the track, if you got like for this track here, this track is going to be, I'm going to be bending over and looking down this track and stuff. So I'm going to be adding joint bars to both sides of each piece of track. So that's $7 for a 3-piece for a 3-foot section of track, ups to $14 for a 3-foot section of track. If you're putting joint bars on both sides, does that make sense? So that's why I only do it on the visible parts, and so I can space it out a little bit and be a little bit smarter about how I'm spending my money, and why I'm using Kaiser Valley versus Detail West on most of this. Even though Detail West looks a little bit better. There's other reasons too, as far as like, not interfering with the wheels on your cars and all that. And the fact that Details West does not work on code 70 track very well. But anyways, that's that. Okay. All the details ready to go now. So this is my mainline track, my Union Pacific mainline. This is welded rail. So welded rail doesn't need joint bars either. Only older track needs joint bars. So I'm saving money that way. So welded rail doesn't need joint bars, so I don't need to detail that at all. Details are added to this track. All I really got to do now at this point is to kind of come back and with an X-Acto knife, start etching in extra detail on the ties, roughing up the ties a little bit, cutting off portions of the tie, adding kind of like those deep grooves and stuff in ties and stuff, so that when I go to paint it, it's just a little extra detail. That'll be in another video. But at least I got all the joint bars and switch details in place I need to kind of get at least the main line and this little sliding right here ready for ballasting. I just have to add the extra details, add the paint, and then I can ballast that, and that'd be good because I'm really on about getting this whole thing ballasted, even this yard and everything in the next couple of months. So a lot of these live videos will be just me detailing track for a while, but that's the way it goes. Alrighty, thank you everyone for joining me today. It's been about a little over an hour, so got a pretty decent amount of work done in that hour. Pretty happy about it. And yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'll see everyone in another live video.